This is the moment we've all been waiting for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Welcome to another episode of the Chokeslam Wrestling Report, episode 304. And today, on this July 4th, we are going to be speaking about Forbidden Door and what happened in that event. And it was an amazing event for those who saw it, those who have not checked it out. I will expect you to go and watch it because that was an awesome, and when I mean awesome, event last Sunday and whatnot. It was New Japan and the CMML and Stardom. It had everything you can imagine, everything. And there was no ifs, no buts and whatnot. And if for those who love pro wrestling and whatnot. So Forbidden Door started off in the 0 Hour show, which was very interesting. We saw Drilla Maloney, a former war dog, in the ring with a Death Rider. Now, sometime last year in Forbidden Door, we saw Drilla Maloney roll up at AEW with the War Dogs, which included Gabe Kidd, Clark Connors, and David Finlay. Now, this past Sunday, we saw him, Drilla Maloney, going against Daniel Garcia. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of rumors going around that Moxley is probably going to get turned on by the Death Riders, and the new leader may be David Finlay. I mean, if you think about it, these guys are still working together, and yet, I can see it because, Moxley right now just put in a vote to put in Will Ospreay. Ospreay got his own issues, and Ospreay got to look out behind his back because United Empire may be coming after him after what we saw this past Sunday that we're going to talk about. But Drilla Maloney against Daniel Garcia, this match was a very good match. And Drilla Maloney ended up hitting Daniel Garcia with that devastating, nasty finishing move he has. It's like a power driver forcing into the mat, and he ended up pinning Daniel Garcia. Also, what I was doing and checking out was the wins between New Japan Pro Wrestling and AEW. Any AEW versus New Japan wrestler I was watching. Because for months, so the last 4 months I've been talking about New Japan Pro Wrestling and AEW may go to war somewhere down the line. Okay? And the way I saw it already at the beginning of the show, we saw Drilla Maloney and New Japan Pro Wrestler end up beating Daniel Garcia, Death Rider. So there's a lot of things that people got to be paying attention. This is sometimes I always bring it up in my shows. I bring it up in my audio shows. You got to pay attention now with this whole thing with New Japan and AEW. Okay, regardless of what you're hearing online about New Japan being bought by by Ashi TV, TV Ashi, whatever they call it, Cyber Agent. They are no longer part of Bushi Road, but Tanahashi made a claim that they are still going to be pushing forward, working. They still want to work with Stardom. I don't know the deal with Stardom. I don't know if Stardom is also bought by the same TV Ashi and Cyber Agent, but it's going to be very interesting in the coming months after the G1 climax. Remember what I'm saying this. After the G1 climax and maybe at All In, you could be seeing the start of AEW versus New Japan Pro Wrestlers, and it could start with United Empire turning on Ospreay. Remember I said this today. This is July 4th. But I will bring it up again come down August. So that was one. Survivor of the Fittest match, we had Maika, who I never seen. I think I seen the once in Stardom, was in the ring to qualify for the Survivor of the Fittest that we saw this past Wednesday versus Sky Blue. This was a good match. I still think, Sky Blue is always getting the short end of the stick. This girl should have been pushed a long time ago. Even though she's part of the Triangle of Madness and whatnot, I still think that she should be pushed further than what she is now. This was a very good match, but at the end of the day, she's looking at the lights again. Which this girl should be already a TBS champion. She should have been part of at least the tag team champion. Sky Blue got a lot of potential. And her being stuck in this triangle of madness with Julia Hart, you're not really doing nothing with these girls. Thekla is the main focus of that group and whatnot. And if you see it, you're going to be like, well, you know what? Sky Blue has a lot of potential. So she lost this match against Maika and whatnot. And to me, I feel like if you're going to push Maika and whatnot, if you're going to put her in Survivor of the Fittest and you're just going to have them just for one match, then you're hurting your girl, and that's Sky Blue. This girl got a lot of potential. She proved herself last year at Blood and Guts. So she should be pushed. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's the deal, but I know that she says that Jon Moxley is very, behind the scenes with her. So hopefully she gets pushed better than that. Then we had, this was all in the 0 hour, the AEW tag team title match that I did not see coming. It was Thunder Rosa teaming up with Olympia. Now, against Divine Dimension. It's a Divine Dominion, whatever the fuck it is called. I keep calling Dimension. First of all, why these girls are having a tag team title match against Divine Dominion? They're not even ranked. So I didn't get that part. Or why they put it for that? You could have put the Brawling Birds against Divine Dominion. These are the girls that are supposed to be already getting a title shot from a long time ago. But they got Divine Dominion over here beating up on girls with a 5-minute time limit. They just beat Ty J, which I don't like Ty J really. I mean, I don't like other girls' name. Sammy Guevara's girlfriend or wife, whatever. And I knew they were not going to win. Okay, they were the first, supposedly they claimed they're the first tag team ever to be assembled in AEW. I don't know if that's true or not, but anyway. I mean, I've been watching AEW since day one, but Divine Dominion, they're too dominant. The only team that they're supposed to be in the ring with is the Brawling Birds. But instead, they have the Brawling Birds having singles matches. It's ass backwards. Really think about it. But Divine Dominion pretty much dominated. Not dominated. I mean, they had the little problems with Olympia because Olympia was the one who really dominated the match there with her strength. Thunder Rosa, they just had her there for the hell of it. I think Thunder Rosa, if you look at her, she's just there. I don't know doing what, but the Divine Dominion won this match. I wasn't surprised. There was not going to be no title change. We're not going to see that. So, good match. Don't get me wrong, fun match, but they gave them a run for their money. But Divine Dominion, they're the tag team to beat, and they right now, I don't see anybody beating them except Brawling Birds. That's who they're supposed to be in the ring with. But I mean, and like I said, Divine Dominion is a badass team. They are a badass team. But unless you put them in that ring with Brawling Birds, you can't have nobody else beat them but the Brawling Birds. That's the only team I see them beating. So we go into the main show. The main show started off with a 3-way tag team. They included the Youngbucks, Shingo Takagi, Tintang versus Mascara Dorada and Mistico. This was an awesome match between these three teams. You had CMML, you had New Japan, even though Tintang wrestles for CMML, but he also wrestles for New Japan, and the Youngbucks. Man, you can't ask for anything better than this. The Youngbucks right now are hot because they're winning their matches like they're supposed to. But like I said, it's going to be a 3-way TLC type of match sooner or later down the line between, Youngbucks, Christian and Copeland, and the War Dogs. In a triple threat, ladders, tables, chairs match. I see it happening. And right now, they're the team to beat right now, the Youngbucks. And this was a fun match. It was awesome. It had everything you expected. Of course, the Youngbucks came out as the winner of this. I did not expect anything else out of this. Shingo, of course, Shingo got his thing going on. He's better off as a single wrestler. Titang is going to give you the high-flying stuff and whatnot. I mean, for those who've never seen Titang, he does wrestle, and he was part of Ingobernables of the Japón when Naito was running that back in Japan back in the days. And Titang is part of the CMML roster. I think he's the junior welterweight champion. I could be wrong. I know the last time I saw him, he had a belt around his waist. So this was a fun match. This was a great way to start Forbidden Door. Nothing crazy, nothing to take out the energy out of the fans, but everybody was very, very, invested in this match. The high flying moves, the super kicks, the brawling tactics of Shingo, and it was a great match. It was a great match. The Youngbucks, of course, and come out the winner of this match. Now, the match that I was really looking forward to was the Kenny Omega versus Zack Sabre Jr. And this was a match that I expected everything you can imagine. Technical wrestling, high impact wrestling, with Omega, of course, hitting his V trigger. Zack Sabre Jr. mutilating a arm or a leg or a body part and whatnot in this match. And I was, not for nothing, but I was rooting for Zack Sabre Jr. I really was, especially after what Omega said about his group. The match was everything we hoped for and more, as Kenny Omega ends up winning this match. But trust me, Zack Sabre Jr. punished Omega to the point where there was time that Omega looked like he was going to give up, because he was twisting him and turning him like a pretzel and whatnot. And as we saw this week in Dynamite, now it looks like Omega is getting the title shot after beating Zack Sabre Jr., which to me, I don't understand, because Zack Sabre Jr. is not part of the AEW roster. You know what I'm saying? But now Omega gets a shot at the world title coming up this Wednesday, and they put the stipulation of, the same stipulation that Hangman Page had, that if he wins, if MJF wins, Omega never gets a title shot. Now, are we going through this thing for the third time and whatnot? Because right now, if you think about it, you have, Adam Page right now, haven't been seen. And even if he comes back, what he's going to do, he can't challenge for the world title. So they're doing this again and whatnot. They're doing this again. And, we're going to see what happens, because in reality, I'm really looking forward to this. But Omega and Zack Sabre Jr. was everything you can imagine, everything you asked for. So, you can't ask for anything better than that. Zack Sabre Jr. loses again. I think this is 2 out of the 3 Forbidden Doors that he's been and whatnot. And so we'll see what happens. So the next match was the Continental title match between Jon Moxley and Bandido. Bandido took a beating and whatnot. Moxley opened him up, broke his mask to top it off and whatnot. I knew Bandido was going to have a problem with Moxley, because Moxley's orthodox style wrestling. He's hardcore. He's going to try to, beat you, whatever he has and whatnot. And I was expecting not Bruiser, I keep calling him Bruiser Brody King to turn on Bandido, but he never showed up because, they're not allowed to come interfere in a Continental match. But I figured after the match, he could have beat him up afterwards, but it didn't. That did not happen. This was a very physical match. But Moxley pretty much dominated this match, busted him open. And after the match, Moxley ended up beating him. I think he choked him out, if I'm correct. And we saw Bandido show respect. Moxley show respect to Bandido for his thing or whatever. Give me a spray. And so this match was everything we expected and whatnot. Hold on a second. Got a little bug on my wall. So anyway, but so it was everything we expected. But I thought that we was gonna see you're gonna see Brody King after he did show up, but we never saw we never saw that what I predicted in my prediction and whatnot. So again, so let's see. After that, we had the IWGP Global Championship match between Shota Umino versus Pac. Another match between AEW and New Japan. Death Rider Pac versus Shota Umino, who was one of the protege of Jon Moxley back in the day, back in 2019 when Moxley came to New Japan after leaving WWE. But Shota Umino has been a different type of wrestler. It's not the same Shota Umino that Moxley trained back in the days and whatnot. And so pretty much Shota Umino and Pac, this match was back and forth and whatnot. I was surprised that Shota Umino, beat Pac, probably because he was the IWGP champion. But this is the second New Japan wrestler who ended up beating a Death Rider of AEW and whatnot. Again, pay attention. First, we saw Drilla Maloney in the pre-show beat Daniel Garcia and whatnot. And now we see Pac getting defeated by Shota Umino for New Japan Pro Wrestling. So we saw that. And again, I say pay attention. You have to pay attention because it's probably going to happen. It's going to happen and whatnot. This was a good match between these two guys. It's very different style, different, quickness. It was everything was expected and whatnot. When it comes to Pac, Pac is a great wrestler and whatnot. I think they just don't push him like they used to back when he first started. This is the first guy ever to have was a champion. Yes, it was a double champion. If you guys see me and you've seen that my thing is frozen, you gotta be kidding me. Now, if you guys can see me, let me know if you see me because I'm having problems with my Wi-Fi. I don't know why. So I'm going on and off on my screen. Ridiculous. I don't know if it's because I don't got many windows open up here, but anyway. So the next one was Thekla versus Starlight Kid. Now, this was a good storyline because Stardom's president was in the front row of this match. Thekla, of course, with coming out with her group, and Starlight Kid was everything that I had said during my prediction, and that is she is everything that you expect and whatnot. She gives Thekla a run for her money, and Thekla, of course, using whatever she needs to do to cheat or whatever. It was a hard-fought victory for Thekla, and at the same time, she ended up taking the mask of Starlight Kid, and pretty much the referee had to cover her because I don't know if she took her mask, but I saw her with a mask. But I know that after that, she started beating the president of Stardom with the mask and whatnot. So Thekla right now, as it looks, because we're expecting her to go against Mercedes Moné at All In. And by me telling you that you already know, well, I don't even have to tell you, you already know who won the Owen Hart Cup. Are we going to see Thekla and Mercedes Moné go at it one-on-one? Who is people going to cheer for? Is Mercedes Moné going to get booed? These are questions that people got to ask because right now, Thekla is the more of, white hot. And from what we saw in the scrum, you could see that Mercedes Moné is taking Thekla lightly. She's sort of that little 4'11" girl, that midget. She's already calling her all kinds of names, not knowing that Thekla is nothing to play with. You know what I'm saying? Thekla reminds me of La Vatina. You know what I'm saying? They're the same size, they have the same impact. So my thing is Thekla losing the belt to Mercedes Moné at All In? Or Mercedes Moné is going to lose again for the third time. This will be her third world title match that she's going to have to deal with. So we're going to see what happens with that. So Thekla ends up beating Starlight Kid. Afterwards, we saw Thekla smack the Stardom president with the mask and whatnot in front of everybody, in front row. So we'll see what happens now. That's the end of the story with Stardom. So we'll see about that. Then we had the AEW Tag Team title match between the Dogs versus the champs, Cage and Copeland. This match was good and looked like the Dogs were going to win the titles and whatnot. I thought it was over. Once David Finlay took the shillelagh and smacked Christian with it right across the neck, and he was about to hit Copeland with it, I was like, it's over. The lights went out. And when the lights went out, we had the Bang Bang Gang showed up in the by the stage area. And then the lights come back on. Well, actually, the light goes back out. And when the lights go back on, before the lights go back on, we hear Jay White drop of the knife on the floor. And who it was? Jay White. Jay White goes, and David Finlay comes and turns around, tries to hit Jay White with the shillelagh. He gets caught with the switchblades finishing move. You know what I'm saying? So my thing was, people probably wondering why it happened. And if you guys remember, 3 years ago, when Jay White lost to Eddie Kingston at New Japan Strong, it was the end of Jay White's time at New Japan. It was a loser leaves New Japan Pro Wrestling forever. And it was that same night that David Finlay came in the ring, hit Jay White with the shillelagh, and took him out. And he became the leader of the Bullet Club. Here we are, almost 3 years later, and Jay White finally gets his revenge. Now, mind you, Christian wasn't too happy to see Jay White. When Jay White gave the belts back to Copeland, Christian was mad and snatched the belt away from Jay White. Now, I don't know where's that going to go, because apparently when Jay White was on this week on Dynamite, he didn't mention nothing about Christian. He did mention about David Finlay, but he didn't mention anything about Christian. Christian, in other words, did tell Copeland, I had issues with him before me and you teamed up. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting. If we don't see nothing with Copeland and Cage with the Jay White, well, we should not focus on that. What we should focus now is David Finlay. Now, David Finlay, he only got 2 guys. Okay? He has Gabe Kidd and he has Clark Connors. Now, will he ask for help with the Death Riders against the Bang Bang Gang? Are we going to see Jon Moxley saying, no, I don't want to get involved in this? And that's who probably see the Death Riders turning on Moxley. And then we'll see David Finlay taking over the Death Rider. Can we see that? There's the possibilities. The possibilities are endless. You know what I'm saying? This is what I like, because AEW right now is giving you endless storylines where they could run with this or they could run with that. You know what I'm saying? Right now, we're seeing it with the MJF and Andrade, the Don Callis family. It's a lot of things. And as far as the Don Callis family, I think they're just cutting out the fat out of that group. So, you know what I'm saying? So it's possible. The possibilities are endless. And so Edge and I keep calling it Edge. Copeland and Cage retained the belts. It was a good hard-fought match, but they pulled it off. If it wasn't for Jay White that showed up, I think, honestly, the War Dogs would have won, or the Dogs would have won the tag team belts. But I still think there's going to be some type of triple threat match coming down the line with Copeland and Cage, the Youngbucks, and the Dogs. Remember, the Dogs, I think they beat the Youngbucks. I'm not sure in Collision, but anything is possible. So we'll see about that when the coming months coming up. Then we had the Owen Hart Tournament with the women's Maya World. Okay, Maya World pretty much almost convinced me that she was going to win the women's Owen Hart Tournament. She gave Mercedes Moné a run for the money. It went up. I like what Tony Khan did by putting Maya in this tournament, giving her the stage, the platform for her to show her, her skills. Now, is it me or the Maya World's wig came off? I have a problem with these females using wigs and whatever, and then they put it around them, and other girls grab about their hair and whatnot. And I don't know, but was for one part of the match where Maya World was thrown outside the ring because her wig came off. So I don't know. But anyway, but besides that, the match was great. Maya World had Mercedes almost tapping out. Okay. Mercedes survived this match. Okay. Because Maya World came to win this shit and upset everybody. You know what I'm saying? Because if she would have won this shit, it would have been incredible. You know what I'm saying? But I kept saying to myself, there's no way Maya's going to win. For the simple fact that Tony Khan, days before this match, said that Mercedes Moné was one of his pillars, including with Thekla, Kevin Knight. I forgot who the other guy is. Okay. So Mercedes made Maya World. Maya World was made by Mercedes in this match. You know what I'm saying? Now, what do Tony Khan does with this woman now? I don't know. But Mercedes right now is the number one contender for the AEW Women's Champion. Now, like I said earlier, you got Mercedes, who's a heel, Thekla, who's a heel. Is Thekla going to make it from here to All In unless Tony Khan changes everything? Because it looks right now, there may be some change, and I'm going to bring it up right after I talk about the Don Callis versus MJF versus the Conglomeration. But are we going to see a change of women's title before All In and Mercedes wrestle somebody else? You know. Now, my question is, how many of you will be happy if Mercedes wins the world title? You know what I'm saying? How many of you will be excited that this woman will win the world title? How many of you are going to be mad if Thekla loses the title? I'll be mad. I'll tell you that. I don't want Thekla losing the belt. Mercedes don't need the world title. She don't need it right now. Because if you're going, if you're going to finish up a story, the best way to finish up a story is, or the way they should have finished the story was Maya beating Mercedes, where now Mercedes has fall from grace. But no, they gave her the Owen Hart for the second year in a row. You know what I'm saying? Now, a lot of people be like, oh, the women's division sucks because they gave it to Mercedes. No, the women's division right now is kind of a little bit weak because they don't have Willow and they don't have Toni Storm. If they would have had those two there, they probably would have been a different story. My book in my mindset was, let's have Athena win it all. Athena beat Mercedes. Because Mercedes has beaten Athena before. Have Athena beat Mercedes, and then Athena faces Thekla, and have Thekla beat Athena because Athena beat Thekla in Japan last year. See? But they didn't do it that way. They gave it to Mercedes, and the reason they gave it to Mercedes because you want to have a known person if you're going to London in August as the number one contender. That's the way I see it. So the next match was the Don Callis family and MJF versus the Briscoe team. This match was freaking nuts. You know what I'm saying? At one point, Leo Rush came out of a fucking bag. This was fucking great. I love Leo Rush. That gimmick he has of Blackheart is awesome. I don't care what anybody says. Okay. And I'm going to compare it to Danhausen that's doing that garbage shit in WWE to what Blackheart's doing here. And not only All Elite Wrestling, but all over the independent scene. You know what I'm saying? This was great. You know what I'm saying? When they opened the bag of hockey, there was a hockey bag where here pops out Leo Rush when Okada opened the bag. And then he bit Okada's hand, hit Okada with a cake in the face, and then he went after MJF and wanted the ring that MJF has, the AEW ring. What's funny, though, the commentating was Tony Schiavone, what he said. He said he's going after, who was it? One of the commentators said he's going after the ring. And Tony Schiavone said, as long as he don't say Precious, that was a fucking great line. Because that's what it reminds me of. Okay, the whole Blackheart gimmick that he has reminds me of Lord of the Ring. If you would have said Precious, I would have fucking died laughing. You know what I'm saying? Even though Okada ended up remaking Leo Rush, we also saw Kevin Knight on top of the cage grabbing a bag and the bag exploding on his face, and he landed from the top of the cage onto the table. Now, the cage was different than most cages we've seen in wrestling. Okay, this cage was circle around the ring. It wasn't square. It wasn't, or like some war game type of shit. It was circle. There was no way you could escape that shit. You probably could, but it was something that incredible. It was incredible. You know what I'm saying? And the match, the explosion shit from the top. Well, Darby Allin put that up there and whatnot. That was nuts. And And then the best part, because two in the match, two in the end, MJF telling people what to do, like always. Drake, Drake, whatever, Jake Doyle, whatever his name is. Jake Doyle is trying to eat direct traffic here. Now, Andrade is in the corner, and MJ is telling Andrade to hold Mark Briscoe. You know what I'm saying? And he's saying, no, I'm not going to hold him because I did that last week, and I got hit with the ring. And MJ is screaming, no, you're going to hold him. So Andrade said, okay, I'll hold him. And as Andrade is ready to hold him, is holding him, he hits him with the Diaz de la Muerte move, knocking out MJF. Jake Doyle tried to do something, but Andrade took him out. You know what I'm saying? And then he took the shirt and said, fuck Don Callis Family or Don Callis and fuck MJF. So it was great. It was a great moment at the end of this match. And then Mark Briscoe ends up pinning MJF, and he got his title shot this past Wednesday, even though his match with him, with MJF, was a good match. Blood was spilled, but I think, like I said in my audio podcast this past Thursday, Mark Briscoe was too focused of hitting that froggy bowl and that Jay Drilla all throughout the match. He hit the froggy bowl 3-4 times. He still couldn't beat MJF. He hit the Jay Drilla on MJF, and he got out. And after that, that was it. So now Mark Briscoe, I don't know what he does from here, but I know MJF is scheduled to face Kenny Omega this week. In a way, when it comes to MJF, we cannot have Kenny Omega beat MJF this week coming up, because it's stupid. The man just got the belt back from Darby, from Double or Nothing. Unless, like I said, unless MJF is planning to do something else, as far as doing movies and he's going to be out for a while, whatever the case may be, then. But they're going to take the belt away from him just to have Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay for the third time at All In London. Because then you're going to give the belt to Omega for him to be a transitional champion. Makes no sense. So something's got to happen. Then again, you can't have Kenny Omega lose to MJF because of stipulation they just put, which is if he loses, he doesn't get a world title shot ever again as long as MJF has the belt. You know what I'm saying? So are we going to have another Adam Page situation? I don't know, because right now it's not a lot of confusion. It's not saying it's a lot of confusion. It's just a lot of cliffhanger stuff going on. And we got to wonder what's next. You know what I'm saying? We got to wonder what's next. But this is, this is something to talk about. Then the main event was Swerve Strickland versus Will Ospreay. Now, this match is match of the year contender. Okay. This match had everything you expected. Okay. But the best part of this was the blood spilling, the move they were made. I mean, I'm talking about Swerve took bumps that I never seen him take. So the same thing with Will Ospreay. These people went at it and whatnot. At one point, I don't know how the hell, but Swerve hit Ospreay with his finishing move, kicked him right in the face. And you see Will Ospreay look at the Death Riders who were outside and whatnot and took it. And then he hit the move that he claimed that he would never use. And the last time he used a Tiger 95 was on Bryan Danielson a couple of years ago. He had to use this on Swerve because Swerve wasn't going to give up. You know what I'm saying? Now, I don't know what happens with Swerve from now on, but he hit Swerve with a Tiger Driver 95, and that was it. Okay? But this match was everything that you expected. This is not the first time these two had wrestled. They fought, I believe, a couple of, was it 3 years ago? And whatnot with Swerve beating. Swerve was the world champion back then. But this, I think it was All Out. I could be wrong. All Out 2023, some shit like that, or 2024. But these guys put on a show that nobody can top. You know what I'm saying? Again, AEW, when they do their pay-per-views, they do their pay-per-view great. There's no other way to put it. You know what I'm saying? Because they give you the pay-per-view that you be talking about it for months, right? And the best part now is Ospreay is ready for whoever he's gonna face. But then the best part this week, if you saw it, you saw Jon Moxley actually telling Ospreay, we voted, you're part of the Death Riders. Again, like I said earlier and doing this podcast right now, is the Death Rider turning on Moxley? Because remember, right now you got members of the Dogs who are working with the Death Riders. Moxley has been going around beating people and then shaking hands. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Because 1 minute it looked like Moxley's a heel, the next minute he's a fan favorite. I don't know. Well, they're feuding at one point with the Don Callis family. They were feuding with the Shane Taylor promotion. So they're feuding with everybody and whatnot. And they got everybody wondering what's next for them. But I won't put it past it. I won't put it past that David Finlay will take over the Death Riders. You know what I'm saying? And now, will he be a better leader than Moxley? No. Because especially with Marina Shafir in that group. Let me tell you, Marina Shafir is one badass bitch. Okay, you see what she did to Jay Lethal this week? You know what I'm saying? Every week this woman surprises me of how badass she is. First of all, the fact that she went, they grabbed her, she was in a Shane Taylor promotion fight, and they went and she's barefooted and they put her on top of thumbtacks on the floor, and then she was screaming, then she walked on it anyway. That's a badass chick. You know what I'm saying? The Death Rider right now, their weak links is Daniel Garcia, Wheeler Yuta, and first of all, I don't know why is Claudio taking losses either. So something's got to give. There's got to be some work or whatever, and we'll see. And we'll see, because right now, this group needs to change everything up. I mean, I'm not saying they're bad, but right now they need to get more titles. I mean, you could combine Claudio with Pac, and maybe Daniel Garcia go after the Trios title, go after the TNT title, and none of these guys are going for that. We only have Will Ospreay going after the world title, and then you got Moxley as a Continental Champion. So, but overall, I mean, we saw what happened this week at AEW Dynamite. We saw that how when it came to Andrade, and I'm going to end this with this. Andrade right now, he got jumped this week. He had a match with Brian Cage, the person who hit him with that devastating drill power driver and whatnot. But Andrade right now, he's going to need help. And the only people that could help him is La Facción Ingobernable, which includes Rush, Jalisco, Beast Mortis, what's his name? Beast Mortis, and Sammy Guevara to feud with the Don Callis family. And talking about the Don Callis family, you notice they're shaving down the fat, and I mean, Andrade, Takeshita is not fat, but they're breaking down the team, because you think about it, you don't see Echisato because he's since the team member. You don't see Alexander, oh my God, Josh Alexander, because he's hurt. And the only ones that right now that could be probably a weak link in that team is Beretta and Rocky. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the monster Lance Archer, I mean, he's been there. He's more like a bodyguard type guy. But you see it right there. You see a lot of things, a clone. Like he wrestles in CMML. So the Don Callis family is breaking down, chopping down people in that group to make it smaller, because they got about 20, 25 fucking guys. Remind me of the NWO, the B level NWO back in the days where everybody wanted to be an NWO and whatnot. So, but right now, the way I'm looking at it, they're shaving down as far as group members. So, but right now, with a Forbidden Door, we're now with Retribution coming around and whatnot, we're going to see what happens. Then you still got Grand Slam Mexico coming out. Well, we're going to see Andrade versus MJF. That's, I'm going to say that, that's if Kenny Omega don't beat MJF next week at Dynamite, which right now I can't give you a prediction on that, because we could go with Tony Khan. How you call it? Going the route what he did with Adam Page, or have Kenny Omega win it, but then lose it to Ospreay. If he loses to Ospreay, I think this would be the third time that Ospreay beats him. I'm not sure. I don't know what the record is. 1-1 or 2-0. I'm not sure. But that is it for me, guys. Let me know what you think about this, with this whole thing, with this whole show, The Forbidden Door. What you thought about it? What was your favorite match and whatnot? What was the match that you felt that it was like awesome? To me, the cage was the best part of the night. I mean, I like that way they did that and whatnot. It has so many things and many stories involved in that and whatnot. But one of the stories already got done, which is the MJF and Mark Briscoe. The Andrade is turning on the Don Callis family. That right now is going to start, and we're going to see if the Facción Ingobernable come and help them out. Then we had, of course, Leo Rush's story. He keeps saying, got a wrestling match with Kevin Knight this week. Knight touched the belt, and there was a video going around where he said, Knight touched the belt. He has to know. Who's he? That is the question. I am so invested in that. You know, everything's going to be fine. No. Everything's going to be fine. So, again, guys, follow me on social media and whatnot. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, the X. Also, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We just finished doing 2,000 subs. We're going for 3,000. I want to support the podcast, guys. And when also we have a podcast store, as you can see right there. We're also on TikTok, but we have a podcast store where we have t-shirts, hats, hoodies. Go to tcwr.veryinkpressive.com. That's tcwr.veryinkpressive.com. You got shirts, hats, hoodies. Go check it out and whatnot. Support the podcast. I will gladly appreciate it and whatnot. Also, check out the audio podcast. Guys, if you don't have a YouTube channel, you don't like going to YouTube channel, and you just want to drive and listen to the podcast, we are also audio podcasts on Apple, Spreaker, Apple, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music. We're everywhere. So go check us out. What's up, Keith? He said, Keith says, I love the cage match for Forbidden Door. They called it the Death Door match. If it was Death Door match, I think they should have just added more equipment in there, made it more bloodier and whatnot. But overall was a good match. I mean, can't ask for anything better than that. But that's it for me, guys, today. Thank you for everything, your support. Thank you for supporting the podcast. Happy July 4th. Be careful out there. Don't be holding no damn ash cans or fireworks in your hand trying to be cute, and then tomorrow don't have no fingers and whatnot. So just be careful. Until then, guys, I will see you guys next week with more of the Chokeslam Wrestling